Dear students, welcome back to online English language classes. As we studied in our previous classes that in the topic the gentleman of the jungle, as man had lost his hut to the elephant, and when he started complaining, at that time the king of the jungle, lion, framed, means he ordered to frame a commission of enquiry. Hence an Imperial Commission of Enquiry was established, and the commission gave its finding or verdict that the occupation must be continued by the elephant, and man should search another one site and build another one hut according to his present needs. So this much we studied. There, in this situation, man, he was the owner of the hut, but he had lost that hut to the elephant, and the elephant proved that its penetration or occupation or encroachment, it was right, and the judgment was given accordingly. Now we will read what happened after giving judgment. So in this paragraph, the man having no alternative, and fearing that his refusal might expose him to the teeth and claws of the commission, teeth and claws of members of the commission, as commission did as they suggested. But no sooner had he built another hut than Mr. Rhinoceros charged in with his horn lowered and ordered the man to quit. A royal commission was again appointed to look into the matter, and the same finding was given. This procedure was repeated until Mr. Buffalo, Mr. Leopard, Mr. Hyena, and rest were all accommodated with new huts. Then the man decided that he must adopt an effective method of protection. Since commissions of enquiry didn't seem to be of any use to him, he sat down and said, Neng enda di nadegaga motegi, which literally means there is nothing that treads on the earth that cannot be trapped. Or in other words, you can fool people for a time but not forever. You can fool people for a time but not forever. See in this paragraph. So one day or other day, it was his mindset that he should decide something. That is why here the man having no alternative, there was no choice. Alternative in the sense option. Alternative means here option. Alternate means choice. There was no choice, and there was no other way, because they were animals, gentlemen of the jungle. Hence, and feared that his refusal means his rejection. If he rejects, then it might expose to him to the teeth and claws of the members of the commission. What is the meaning of teeth and claws? Teeth and claws means, it means here teeth and claws in the sense violent attack. A violent attack you may consider. Teeth and claws means animals have strong teeth and strong claws. Hence here he might face the attack of the animals with their teeth and claws. We may say like this also, the attack of animals with their teeth and claws. So one part. So under one meaning is here a violent or merciless or savage attack of that members of the commission. Here teeth and claws. Write like this, teeth and claws. Teeth and claws. Here a violent or savage or merciless attack. Merciless attack. Here, there is no mercy. The members of the commission may attack here violently, cruelly, here without mercy. So, him to the teeth and claws of the members of the commission, and he did as they suggested. Okay, he accepted. Yes, he had given his hut to whom? To the elephant. And he searched another one site or place, and there he built another one hut according to his needs. Of course, okay, did as they suggested. But what followed? But no sooner had he built another hut than Mr. Rhinoceros charged in. Here entered in with his horn lowered, and ordered and suggested and insisted and imposed the man. Here this animal, Mr. Rhinoceros, imposed the man to leave the place, to leave the new hut, which was built by the man. So, a royal commission was again appointed. Once again he complained, as the second hut which was built by the man was occupied by Mr. Rhinoceros. Hence, once again he complained to the king, and king appointed once again the Imperial Commission. A royal commission was appointed to look into the matter, to investigate, to look into. The meaning of this is to look into means to investigate the matter. And the same finding, the same judgment was given. What was the judgment? Because of your backwardness, you cannot expand your territory or that area. So, you don't know the modernization, and that hut should be occupied by that Mr. Rhinoceros, and we are giving enough space and freedom to you to find another one place and build another one hut. The same judgment was given as it was given in the case of the elephant. And next, this method was repeated until Mr. Buffalo, Mr. Leopard, Mr. Hyena, all the members of Imperial Commission and rest were all accommodated with new huts. Here, this method was continued, repeated until all these buffalo, leopard, hyena and all other animals here rest were all accommodated, sheltered, accommodated in the sense sheltered. Here, accommodated means sheltered with new huts, with their new huts. Then the man decided that he must adopt an effective method of protections. See, everything has a limit. Our patience, our kindness, should not be a weakness. Here we have to understand the situation of the man. First, it was his kindness. The kindness that he extended help to whom? To the elephant. It was because of his kindness. Then he waited with great patience. Patience and kindness should not be treated as weakness. Okay? So, then the man decided that he must adopt an effective method. He intended to follow an effective method of protection himself. Then, since commissions of inquiry, all these commissions of inquiry didn't seem to be any use to him. He thought that all these commissions of inquiry were useless. They couldn't do anything. They were known for their injustice, established on the lines of unjust means. Since the commission of inquiry didn't seem to be any use to him, he sat down and said, finally, he sat down and said to himself, here, nag inga the nadegaga motegi. Here, this is a Kenyan proverb. It is a Kenyan proverb, which literally means, its verbal meaning is, the exact meaning of this one is literally means verbal meaning or the exact meaning. Proverbs, they have two meanings. One is literal meaning, another one is real meaning. The literal meaning of this one is, which really means, there is nothing that treads on the earth cannot be trapped. There is nothing that treads on the earth that cannot be trapped. Means, the which treads on the earth can be trapped. The which moves on the earth can be trapped. Here, tread means. Here, tread means moving, to move. Which moves on the earth can be trapped. Trap in the sense catch. Here, catch can be caught. The animal which moves on the earth, which walks on the earth, what are called walks on the earth, which walks on the earth, one day can be trapped, can be caught. Or another one meaning is that every problem comes with its own solution. Here, the thing is that each problem has its own solution. Without solution, there is no problem. But we have to think accordingly, wisely, then taking the action. So, there is nothing that treads on the earth that cannot be trapped. Or, in other words, in real meaning, its a real meaning is, you can fool people for a time. We can fool a man for a time. For once only, not twice, thrice, many times. Okay, but not forever. We cannot fool a man for forever. We can fool a man at once. Here, you can fool people for a time, but not forever. So each problem has got its own solution. Or the animal which walks on the earth can be trapped or caught. Or we can, here, you can fool a man or people for a time, but not forever. See here, what had happened? Recall the story from its first paragraph till now. What had happened in this topic, which is written by Jomo Kenyatta, considering that expansionism philosophy of the Europeans on these underdeveloped countries, weaker nations. The situation here, he sat down and finally decided, I should get my own method of protection. Here in this paragraph, here man having no alternate, he has no other choice, simply accepted the decision or the judgment which was given by that Imperial Commission. If not, here he thought that expose him to the teeth and claws of the members. It means a savage or merciless attack of the animals, or the attacked with teeth and claws. That is also you may consider the cruel attack, a deadly attack. The commission, and he followed as they suggested, then built another one hut. It was occupied by rhinoceros and insisted him to quit the hut. Then he once again approached the lion. Commission of inquiry was appointed. The same finding was given as it was given in the case of the elephant. So finally he decided that I should have my own method of protection. He sat down and said to himself this one Kenyan proverb, which literally means the which walks on the earth. The animal which walks on the earth can be trapped, caught, or in other words, you can fool people for a time but not forever. See what happened in conclusion. Now we are about to conclude this topic. In this context, as man was told, you have to build another one hut. Mr. Renaissar will continue his occupation. Man followed the decision of the commission and agreed. Then further, early one morning, when the huts already occupied by the jungle lords, it means as he went on building huts, and all the animals they occupied one by one. All the jungle lords took shelter in the huts which were built by the man. So what had happened? Early one morning, when the huts already occupied by jungle lords were beginning to decay and fall to pieces, he went out and built a bigger and better hut a little distance away from that area. No sooner had Mr. Rhinoceros seen it than he came rushing in, very fast, urgency, only to find that Mr. Elephant was already inside, sound asleep. Elephant was already inside, sound asleep. Mr. Leopard next came in at the window. Mr. Lion, Mr. Fox and Mr. Buffalo entered the doors, while Mr. Hyena hauled for a place in the shade, and Mr. Alligator basked on the roof. Presently they all began disputing about their rights of penetration, and from disputing they came to fighting. And while they were all embroiled together, the man set the hut on fire and burnt it to the ground. Jungle lords and all, the man set the hut on fire and burnt it to the ground. Jungle lords and all. So here, this one. Then he went home saying, peace is costly, but it is worth the expense, and lived happily forever or ever after that incident. Here, in this paragraph, early one morning, what had happened? There is an end for everything, and even for patience also. As I said, patience and kindness should not be treated as weakness. Here the same thing had happened in this topic. The one morning when the huts already occupied by the jungle lords were all beginning to decay and fall to pieces. All jungle lords, first elephant, then rhinoceros, then Mr. Alligator, Mr. Hyena, Mr. Seer, all of the fox, Mr. Lion, Mr. Buffalo, all these stalwarts of the jungle kingdom, experts of jungle kingdom and jungle law, occupied by the jungle lords, beginning to decay. What is the meaning of decay here? Decay means decomposition. Actual meaning is decomposition. But in this topic it is breakdown, started to break down, beginning to break down, because here they lost their strength, were all beginning to decay and fall to pieces, old and weak. Those huts were old and weak. The man went out and built a bigger and better hut. He intended to take revenge against these animals, bigger and better hut, a little distance away. No sooner had No sooner had what happened, Mr. Rhinoceros seen it than he came rushing. By seeing that he was building and built that new hut, Mr. Rhinoceros came very fast. How? In rushing with great urgency. Then before him, already there was elephant. Before Mr. Rhinoceros, already there was an elephant. Mr. Elephant, he was already inside. He was sleeping where? In the hut. Mr. Leopard next came in at the window. Mr. Leopard came. Window. Mr. Lion came. Mr. Fox and Mr. Buffalo entered the doors. All the jungle animals entered, came over there. Mr. Hyena howled for a place in the shade. Howl means the cry of hyena. Howl means the cry of hyena. The way of crying of this animal, hyena, for a place in the shade. Mr. Alligator basked. Basked means exposed. Here, bask. Exposed or opened. Opened to armed and light, it is exposed on the roof. Then all the animals, Mr. Elephant, Mr. Hyena, Mr. Alligator, Mr. Fox, Mr. Buffalo, Mr. Rhinoceros, all these animals, they entered into the hut. Presently they all began disputing. Disputing means arguing. Disputing means arguing. Arguing about the right, the ownership of penetration. Penetration in the sense encroachment. Penetration means without the permission of the owner, encroaching. Here encroaching. Penetration. And from disputing, earlier it was an argument, then it paved way for fighting. Okay. Argument, it paved way for fighting. All the animals argued amongst themselves. So regarding the right of the penetration, encroachment, occupation, then they came to fighting, and while they were all embroiled, it means conflict. Here it means conflict or involved deeply in an argument. See here, all the animals were all involved deeply among themselves. They were together. All the animals, they were not aware about what was going on outside, in the outside world. All were fighting, pushing, attacking, okay, only for the sake of the right of the hut. All the animals. Because an argument which paved way for the fighting. See the animals. All these animals to whom we consider gentlemen. This is not the definition of gentleman. Okay. So here, and while they were all involved deeply or conflict together, the man set the hut on fire and burnt it to the ground. The man set the hut on fire. He burnt the hut to the ground. Set on fire. There was no any emotional attachment of that man with that hut. He burnt his own hut. See here, man set the hut on fire and burnt it to the ground. Not only hut, but also jungle lords. Here, committee members, jungle lords, because they were fighting among themselves at that time. He burnt the hut to the ground along with animals. Then everything is closed. There is no hut, hence there are no animals, no commission of inquiry, no committee, no imperial committee, no royal commission, such thing. So here, then he went home saying, at last he said, peace is costly. See here, the statement, peace is costly. Peace is costly. The most important thing for a nation or for a man is peace. My dear students, it is very costly, but it is worth the expense. It is worth the expense. If it is essential to pay, it must be paid. Here, in this context, see, taking the reference of the man, first he built the hut, then it was occupied by that elephant, then he waited, waste of time, waste of energy, his resources. Here he waited with great patience. Once judgment was given, it was on the lines of unjust, and in that injustice, people ruled or they gave their judgment, then built many more huts. See the time, his energy and his patience. So then see the worth the expense. Then he built another one hut, bigger and better hut. Then here he burned it to the ground along with jungle lords. Here it is worth the expense. It is worth the expense, and lived happily ever after. Here in this paragraph, what happened? The man, he decided to take revenge against all the animals. That is why from a little distance away, he built a bigger and better hut, and all the huts which were built earlier were decaying. Hence those animals rushed in the newly built hut, and they started their right of penetration. And initially it was an argument, but it paved way for fighting, and all the animals were fighting among themselves. The man decided it's the right time to take revenge against all these animals and their decisions, and he set the hut on fire and burnt it to the ground along with all the animals of the jungle kingdom, and said to himself, peace is costly. Peace is costly, and it is worth the expense. My dear students, in this topic we came to know that how the European countries imposed their power, their industrialization, and many more factors on the weaker countries, underdeveloped countries, and how they used the land and resource and men for their betterment, for their improvement. That is why here in previous paragraph we came to know about, which literally means there is nothing that treads on the earth that cannot be trapped, or in other words, you can fool people for a time but not forever. Here peace is costly, but it is worth the expense. As I said, an act of kindness or the patience should not be treated as weakness. Okay. And further, in our textbook, it is mentioned, peace is costly, but it is worth the expense. Next, an act of kindness is misunderstood as weakness. In this topic, we read this topic on the same theme. Okay, so here Jomo Kenyatta explained the attitude, the mindset of the European countries by this context. This topic completed, first topic completed, which is written by Jomo Kenyatta. Okay, a very beautiful story in the form of fable. Next class we will discuss some question answers based on this topic. Okay. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.